on Sustainable Development Goals, Innovation and Futures Thinking, I also examined the budget of DSWD through the lens of SDGs, particularly SDG 1 on no poverty, to ensure that its programs effectively address income deprivation, expand social protection, and uplift households across the country. Anchored in futures thinking, we aim to proactively shape a resilient Philippines by advocating for bold, sustained investments that future-proof our social protection systems, create diverse and sustainable livelihood pathways, and guarantee truly equitable access to health, education, and essential services for this generation and the generations yet to come. Our budget also seeks to be aligned with the following SDGs: SDG 1 on no poverty, SDG 2 on zero hunger, SDG 5 on gender equality, SDG 8 on decent work and economic growth, SDG 10 on reduced inequalities, and always SDG 17 on partnerships. The DSWD remains central in upholding the dignity and well-being of the Filipino people. By investing in social protection programs, we are not merely extending financial assistance, we are breaking cycles of intergenerational poverty, enabling families to build sustainable livelihood, and empowering vulnerable people to fully participate in our country's development. I would like to take this opportunity to acknowledge DSWD's hardworking frontliners, social workers, volunteers, and community organizers who serve often under difficult conditions yet remain steadfast in their mission to serve with compassion and integrity. With this, I am ready to accept questions from my colleagues, Mr. President. Thank you.
All right. Senator Erwin Tulfo is recognized as manifested by the Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, Mr. President, ang lagi pong tinatanong sa DSWD ay ito pong Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino program. Naging controversial po ito nung nagdaang taon, pero mukhang inaayos naman po ng administrasyon. Tanong ko lamang po, Mr. President, kumusta na po ba ang ating 4Ps? Ilan na po ang nakatawid? Kasi sabi nga, Pantawid Pamilya Pilipino Program. Ilan na po ang nakatawid sa 4Ps? Ano pong support o transition programs ang ibinibigay sa mga existing households para hindi na sila bumalik sa kahirapan, Mr. President, Madam Chair?
Under the current administration, Mr. President, approximately 1.4 million families have graduated from the 4Ps program from 2021 to 2025. These families exited the program after meeting the necessary conditions and demonstrating improved well-being. By next year, DSWD is expecting around 1.8 million more families to undergo mandatory exit from the program. These are households that would have completed the 7-year maximum duration as prescribed by law. Once they reach this cap, they are automatically exited from the program, regardless of current status.
Mr. President, nabawasan na po ba ang backlog? Kasi when I used to be the Secretary of DSWD, mayroon pong backlog kami sa dami kasi po nag-aantay na makapasok sa programa. Nabawasan na po ba itong backlog na ito?
Okay, thank you. Mr. President, there is going to be a transition to the CBMS data. This is the community-based data. Although they have not made the formal transition because the numbers are coming in batches, in trickles, geographically, this appears to be a smaller number than the one that they are basing their current beneficiaries on, Mr. President. But would His Honor like me to go back to his question? I think he asked about the transition. Would you like me to go back? to that?
Yes.
So the
Madam
transition plan for the 4Ps is the SLPs, the Sustainable Livelihood Programs. And what is heartwarming and uplifting about this data is that 92% of the SLP beneficiaries come from the 4Ps household, meaning after sila natulungan ng kumbaga pang survival mode nila, they have been able to transform themselves and become beneficiaries of our sustainable livelihood and earn an income for themselves. 92% yung ito, Mr. President. And this is what we consider our transition program.
Thank you, Mr. President, for that answer, Madam Chair. Now, my next question is, well, actually, I would like to commend, Mr. President, this committee, for increasing the budget allocated for the establishment of 5 regional Bahay Pag-asa from 75 million under the GAB to 275 million in our committee report. Ito po bang 275, Ginoong Pangulo, Madam Chair, ay para sa konstruksyon ng mga bagong pasilidad ng DSWD?
Mr. President, the amount of 200 million is for the establishment of regional Bahay Pag-asa, and these are 5. These are 5 separate locations, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair, Mr. President. Also, Mr. President, I would like to commend this committee for increasing by 8.2 billion the budget allocated for social pension for indigent senior citizens. 663,000 waitlisted beneficiaries ang sinasabing magbe-benefit po dito. Ilan na po ba ang total number of beneficiaries ng programa, Mr. President, Madam Chair?
His Honor is correct. The added amount will be able to support additional 663,460 eligible senior citizens. The
With the 558.02,
so with the current amount that the Senate has proposed and adopted, I mean the Senate is in the budget of the Senate, it is 58 billion, which will cover 4.75 million senior citizen beneficiaries.
All right, thank you for that, Mr. President, Madam Chair. This representation noticed that the Senate committee report retained the NEP or NEP level allocation for the AICS program amounting to 27 billion. Yung GAB po ay nagdagdag ng 32 billion. Bakit hindi po ito na-adapt ng komite? Kasi thinking, Mr. President, Madam Chair, hindi na po natin, ito pong AICS na ito, ginagamit po ito, hindi lamang po kung may bagyo, may kalamidad. Marami pong gamit ito. Nandyan din po, kinukuha ng DSWD, educational assistance, ika nga tuwing pasukan o burial, medical. Marami pong pinaggagamitan po ito. Kaya po ba, ang tanong po natin, Madam Chair, happy po ba ang DSWD with this allocation na bawasan po, inalisan po, inlist po yung 32 billion, dapat po ito ay nasa at least mga 50 billion man lang kasi every year hindi po natin alam kung gaano karaming bagyo ang papasok next year. We hope we can predict ngayon, this year we experience may mga earthquakes sunod-sunod po. Tapos nandyan pa rin po yung pagsunog tuwing summertime. So, ano ho ang reaksyon ho ng DSWD dito at nabawasan po yung kanilang assistance for individual in crisis situation?
Thank you for that question, Mr. President. There's a little bit of history here. In the first submission of the subcommittee to the Finance Committee, we recommended the NEP amount indicated, the NEP amount of the budget, which is 27 billion. Di ho natin binabaan yung NEP. Let's be clear about that, no? We did not reduce the amount in the National Expenditure Program. what we didn't do is we didn't adopt the House version. And there are a couple of reasons for this, Mr. President, but to summarize it, there has been a lot of clamor for institutional-based interventions, that the assistance that would be given to the assistance that we all recognize are much needed by the vulnerable populations, the different vulnerable populations, be targeted to them in different modes. For example, through healthcare interventions, through educational interventions, and this, Mr. President, is considered to be more people-centered and sustainable. So that was the initial recommendation. And then succeeding events happened, which, sorry, let me add, Mr. President, I had also discussed with the Secretary that there had been reports of the non-delivery of the amount, the full amount, to the beneficiary. So in other words, if there's a payout and the amount to be delivered per beneficiary is 3,000 pesos, there were reports that they would be getting less 1,000, less 500, and this representation was very much concerned that this might be another catastrophic example of graft and corruption happening directly on the ground. So we did not feel comfortable recommending this because there really are reports of this nature. And then the Bagyong Tino and Uaw happened, and we really saw also that the need for direct intervention still existed. And so we took it up with the finance chairperson, and we recommended that we not reinstate because we never removed any funding, that we increase the delivery of AICS. Plus, we also have a lot of colleagues who are direct. We have colleagues who are from different areas in the Visayas and Mindanao, and they really express the need to deliver more support by way of assistance to individuals in crisis situations, AICS in other words, and therefore we changed our recommendation, Mr. President. But that is for the body. During the caucus, this representation expressed to the body that it is for the body to make this decision to amend this budget. So we can do that, Mr. President.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. President.
And sorry, to address that graft and corruption issue, because that does not go away because there was a typhoon, we had another discussion with the Secretary who assured us that under his watch, this will never be allowed, and they're putting in safeguards, including making public the amounts that are distributed, reminding the people that they must make sure that they receive that amount. Kasi ang nababalitaan pala nila is nangyayari yung kinakaltasan after the distribution. Aabangan sila after. So we're still very much concerned about that kasi we don't want to support a program that is meant to benefit the most vulnerable, tapos pinagkakakitaan pala nung ibang nasa ground na mga kasamahan ng mga LGU. Hindi po lahat, pero nangyayari po.
Thank you very much for that, Madam Chair, Mr. President. Mr. President, in closing, I express my full support for the social welfare budget and the additional allocation sana for the assistance to individual in crisis situation. Our nation stands on the front lines of uncertainty, Mr. President, Madam Chair. Year after year, we face typhoons, earthquakes, floods, fires, health emergencies, and other unforeseen catastrophes that test the resilience of our people. We cannot predict how many crises will strike us next year, Mr. President, or how many families will be left in need. But what we can do is ensure that our government is prepared. The AICS program, Mr. President, is not merely a budget item. It is a lifeline. It offers immediate help to victims who have lost their homes, livelihoods, and loved ones. It provides dignity and hope during their darkest moments. Underfunding this program means turning our backs on those who rely on timely and compassionate government assistance when crisis hits. By supporting this budget, we affirm our commitment to a responsive, humane, and proactive government, Mr. President, one that stands ready to protect its citizens no matter what challenge lie ahead. Let us not wait for the next disaster to remind us of the importance of preparedness. Today, Mr. President, we have the opportunity to strengthen the safety net that millions of Filipinos depend on. For the sake of every Filipino family whose life may change in an instant, I respectfully urge the approval of the social welfare budget and the increased funding for AICS, Mr. President, Madam Chair.